Good morning and welcome to DTU. There's a bit of material for recording, all right? And I've been told we have this kind of football, it's a microphone, and it's for you to ask questions whenever you want. So we can throw it around. It's been told that this is not going to die, so you can just throw it around. And if you want to ask a question, you have to put it up like that, and when you're finished, you put it down, all right? So we'll try it later. Jalal was also telling me we have a few pieces of practical info to tell you about. One is about the posters, that the poster session will be where we have lunch, and it's in another place, in another building, you will see. And then what was the other point? The slides. Oh yeah, and the slides will always be online on the website of the summer school before each and every lecture. So these slides that I have here, they're already on the website, normally. Monday morning is a slow start, but normally they should be there. All right, but first of all, I have to say welcome. It's a real pleasure to have you here. DTU has been, NCE have been organizing this summer school for 3 years already, and every year it's a lot of fun, a lot of good lectures, a lot of nice activities. So we hope it will be the same this year. The weather will be nice, we've been told. It's going to be the worst day of the week today, and it's already quite good. There'll be some activities that are extracurricular. I think I've heard on Wednesday you're supposed to be sailing on some Viking boats. There's going to be some barbecues, there's going to be some nice dinners. But you're going to work very hard, I'm sorry to tell you. It's our experience every year that the week is very dense. But yeah, it's some good work. It's some very nice work. There'll be a few projects that you can pick if you want to get some ECTS and to apply some of the ideas you see. I don't know when they will be presented. I can tell you one is about distributionally robust optimization. One is about market. One is about peer-to-peer market. And the last one is about convex relaxation and power flow problems. All right, but I have a few things I want to go through today. First, when you're in Denmark, we say tak for det, to say thank you. And we have to say thank you to a few people. Sorry, I have to start with that, but you had to pay a registration fee. It was already quite lower than what it could be, thanks to these few organizations. MOSEC, ES, UETP, and cities gave us a bit of money to help pay for the summer school, to bring some lecturers from all over the world, very nice lecturers. So I have to say thank you to them. MOSEC also will be awarding 2 scholarships. DTU will be awarding 2 scholarships. I think they will be announced tonight, right? And those who get the scholarship, they will not have to pay the registration for the summer school. It will be reimbursed. All right, what I want to discuss is very high-level stuff so that you see where you are. Some of you have been to DTU before. Some of you have studied at DTU, so you know. And then I will tell you about some of the problems we work on. You're going to hear a lot from our various lectures. Some of our lecturers are seated here, by the way. There's Miguel, Misha, Pascal, that I've seen already. So you'll get to know them during the week. So I want to tell you about some other problems we work on, and then we'll get started with the lecture of Miguel. So who we are, our boss here, Jakob Östergaard, is the head of our center. 1 year ago, he asked a cartoonist to summarize 10 years to 15 years of the center history in one cartoon, and that's what happened. I don't know where you're from. I think we have maybe 15 countries represented, at least here. If I was to make a poll and you look 20 years back, how was power system research in your country? I think it was pretty much the same in each and every country represented here. It was not very strong, it was dying, and that was something happening in Denmark. Luckily enough, the system operators and a few companies decided to put some money on the table, to put some goodwill on the table, and to help rebuild the power research at DTU. So that was here, 2001, 2003, you could say, this period. And after that, so the center that's hosting the summer school now has been growing and growing. Now we are 100 people. So that's a lot of people. Not everybody is faculty. 100 faculty would be huge, right? There are many PhD students, but today DTU, not just because power system and electrical engineering, but DTU is quite well regarded in terms of energy science and engineering. And maybe that's why you're here. Maybe it was just an occasion to come to Denmark and have a good week. But I think you will see that there's very good facilities. There's a lot of very nice people. If you can talk with the PhD student we have here, postdoc, etc., there's lots of good research going on. The research is in 5 different groups. Some work on components, some work on power system, more traditionally like monitoring and transmission level stuff. Some work with distributed energy resources, microgrids. We have a microgrid in Roskilde. When we'll go to Roskilde on Wednesday, some of you will have the chance to visit the microgrid there. I think it was optional, the tour, so maybe some of you prefer to stay at the barbecue, some others want to have the visit. And now our group, where Jalal and I are based, focus on data and markets. So I'll tell you a bit more about that. We have a lot of teaching also in electrical engineering, like in many universities. We teach for a lot of programs. Luckily enough, for power, we have less programs than others, but still there's a new bachelor that we have, which is also going to be in English and Danish. It's sustainable energy design. Then the master degree in electrical engineering, wind energy and sustainable energy. Okay. In terms of themes for research, and I'm sure it's in line with the theme of your research, hopefully, we work a lot on digital energy solutions, so that's everything now you can do with data, ICT, and HPC. We work on interconnected energy system, so smart cities, it was a trendy word still now, I think, but there's also interconnected system in terms of AC and DC grids. And you can also think of multi-energy carriers in general, and you can also think in terms of market and flexibility, since when we want to have more flexibility from the demand side, you interconnect a system which is physical and a system which is like people and society. And finally, obviously, as engineers, we look a lot into components and energy technologies, and that's electric vehicles. When you go to the lunch area, you will see on the right there's the EV lab. So there's a lot of work on EVs, but that can be also components for wind turbines. So what to do with rare elements, for instance, and new type of equipment, so connecting to a power electronics concept. The faces you're going to see a lot during this week, they are here. I hope you can see quite well. That's not the most up-to-date set of pictures for our group. I try to update it very regularly, but the group is changing all the time. There are 3 faculty in the group. That's the faces on top. Jalal, Spiros, who's hiding at the corner there, and myself. All right. And then the others are postdoc, PhD students, research assistant, and guest PhD students. We receive guest PhD students from all over the world every year, and it's very nice. We like it. Well, maybe you saw Guillaume already this morning, who was setting up the tables for the breakfast. Maybe not. A French guy, small French guy with a big beard. No? He was not there setting up the table when you arrived? Okay, and yeah, Morten, you will not see him. There's a competing summer school this week in Polytechnique in France on data science. So we heard a lot of people went there, including some of our students. So that's all right, we accept it. In terms of research, I'm not going to go into detail, you can look at the slides after, but I wanted you to hear the big picture. We work a lot with data-driven analytics. That's my core specialty originally, forecasting, data-driven optimization, and also clustering for demand, for instance. We work a lot with energy markets. We're going to talk mainly about optimization this week, but always in the background there's going to be some market concept, I guess. We work a lot with systems, and when you think of systems today, it's going towards behavioral economics. We do some work on bounded rationality in markets. Game theoretical concepts, so it's not only bounded rationality, it can be many types of games, and obviously stochastic and distributed optimization. There's a field you're going to hear quite a lot about. I think Spiros is teaching already this afternoon, right? So it's power flows. Power flow, you could say it's an old problem, optimal power flow, but it's been revived over the last 5-10 years because many people say, okay, it's not enough. DC approximation is not good enough. We want to find a way to solve ACOPF with some kind of guarantees. We want to include uncertainty, etc., etc. So this is something that we work a lot on, and also with HVDC in there. There's one thing that I removed yesterday when I was preparing the slide, is that in our group we work in an open fashion. So it's like open access, open source, open everything. We try to put all our slides from lectures online, our data sets online, our papers online. So I hope you have the same kind of mindset when you do research. Otherwise, yeah, if you're not convinced, I would be happy to argue with you sometime this week so that you do some open research. There's a few papers and books you can look at if you want to see what we're doing. This book was written, for instance, by Juanmi Morales. Maybe you've seen his name here and there. Conero, etc. On integrating renewables in markets. I'm very sorry, they are not open access, but most likely if you come from a university, you will have access freely to this book. And I added this one. Jalal also contributed to a nice book, which is more on investment. And there's no nice high-resolution picture online for this book, so that's why it's all blurry, right? So I would advise you, some of the concepts you're going to be discussing this week, if you want to dig a bit more and have it more formal on paper, I think in these two books you will find a lot already. Okay, but then I want to talk about just a few problems. And if you want, you can interrupt me if you have some questions or if you want to know more about these problems. Obviously, I cannot discuss all of them. Right, so forecasting. I guess this year we have no one doing forecasting here. Someone doing forecasting? Yes, two. We have two forecasters, 3, 4, 5. Okay, there are more. Okay, we're going to organize a parallel summer school just for us. Every year we discuss and we decide maybe we're not going to put forecasting directly in there. But yeah, I see every year we have people who care about it. It's a topic that's coming back. I think there's more and more data being gathered, being available. And we realize that even though forecasting accuracy has improved a lot, that we can use forecast in decision making, there's still a lot to do. For instance, people don't use probabilistic forecast in decision making, while most of the stuff we'll be discussing this week is that there's uncertainty around, and when you do optimization, you should account for uncertainty. So you need this probabilistic forecast. Then there should be scenarios, then there should be ways to verify this forecast. And if you look at the science today, it's still, yeah, not so advanced, you could say. Even though it's been recognized, so this is an old slide, but since then there's been many other magazines, journals, etc., that have recognized forecasting as a cornerstone for integration of renewables. If you look at funding and research, it's very little compared to other topics. Right. One of the topic I think is maybe some of the most exciting today. It's when you combine game theory and markets. And so in the group here, there's been quite a lot of work on that. I mean, so there's been Jalal, there's a colleague called Thanasis, who is not in our group anymore, but you will see around is still at DTU. So we've been looking at effect that you can have on the market when you offer. So when you offer as a wind farm, you have to tell how much power, how much energy you could provide the system with at a certain time in the future, most likely the day after. And the typical assumption you would make is that you're a price taker. So whatever game you're playing with the market, you're not having an impact on the market outcome, so you can just do whatever you want almost, right? You can apply your stochastic optimization, it's going to be okay. But quite a few groups, so I know Jalal worked on this problem on the consumption side, we worked on this problem on the production side. If you are a big wind power producer, when you offer in the market and you're trying to do some wise optimization, we could say, you're going to have an impact on the market outcome, and you should account for that in your offering strategy. So there were some papers published. This is just one example written by Marco Zugno. And when it comes to renewables, it's actually even more tricky than that, because you might think, oh, okay, I'm going to do some fancy optimization, and I'm too small. I've been told by Pierre I'm getting a bit big, but actually I feel I'm still too small. But since you're a wind power producer, the wind farm that's next to you and the wind farm that's next to you, they're also small, and they see the same wind, and maybe they buy their forecast for the same place. They have their trader that has the same education. They were all in this room, right? So you have this kind of weak dependence effect, and when you add up everybody through a population effect, altogether, you're a price maker. So originally you thought I'm too small to for having an impact on the market, and eventually with the others, you're having an impact altogether. So we've made an illustration. We wrote a paper that is an illustration of that, and it's for the UK market. If you think of the balancing sign in the market, you know, if there's too much power on the market is going to be long, and you need balancing on a certain sign. And if there's not enough, it's the opposite. If you have too many wind farms that try to be wise, try to play optimal in offering, they might actually make the market switch. So the market should have been short, and now it's going to be long because everybody is just playing a little game. And then, as a wind power producer in the market, you're gonna get slapped. So you have to consider this effect as a single wind power producer or solar power producer, as a group. And now there's a lot of people that look at the extension with storages. Maybe Mariam will talk about min-field games with storages. There's Imperial College, ETH, some people at EDF in Paris. They start looking at this problem of having lots and lots and lots of small storages everywhere, how we coordinate them or how we don't want them to be coordinated so that they don't have this kind of impact on the market. All right. Some of the topics that are really important in Denmark, in Germany, and most likely in other countries after, is that we want renewables to offer system services, all right? So wind turbines can do it. Solar panels through inverters can do it in the future. The problem is, do we have markets that are adapted to the situation? You can put it through grid code that wind farms should offer services. Then there's no market. They're just forced to do it, right? Or you can have a market the same way we have a market for energy. But then we have a market design problem, because if you write simple optimization problem, you will see that the way the wind farm will behave is not what you expect as a system. So they will not offer the services when you want them to, right? So this is something also we've been working on. Similarly, if we have, in Denmark, we are reaching 50% renewable in the system on average, all right? So that's a lot. That's really a lot. When we designed the electricity market, they were designed for having conventional generators, not so many, a top-down view of the system. Now that we have so much wind power in the system that is uncertain, is it still okay to have an electricity market that does not account for the fact everybody is uncertain in the system? Not everybody, but demand is uncertain, actually. Wind is uncertain, solar is uncertain. So maybe we should try to redesign the electricity market, accounting for it. And some of the work that's been done here, there's also work in the US, has been showing it's not so much work to generalize the electricity market to account for uncertainty. But yeah, it takes a lot of goodwill because it's a fundamental change. All right. I did this slide yesterday after Spiros sent me some material. There's a very nice strand of work here at DTU now that is focused on going towards a fully controllable power system. Do you believe this can be achieved? This is something you have to decide upon. But Spiros is trying to do that. So he's working on stability issues. There's a PhD project on robust control for our varying inertia systems. We're looking at market integration of HVDC, convex relaxation, so that's what you'll be discussing quite a lot today. And then also data-driven security constraint OPF, so that we use all this data that we have now and we bring them into some more classical optimization problems. So if you want more detail, you can ask us, Spiros. All right, one thing that DTU is known for, I hope you've heard about it, is this EcoGrid project. Have you heard of EcoGrid? No? Do you know a small island called Bornholm? Also not? Okay. 2 people know the little island of Bornholm. Okay. So this is Denmark, right? And this little dot here is Bornholm. That's a small island that represents 1% of the country. And that's an island we use as a living lab, if you want. So we have a lot of installations there. Today we don't have this 2,000 installation anymore. I think it's around 1,000. We realized that some of these installations were not so good. You know, if you put some equipment for demand response in a summer house and everything is switched off most of the year and you're trying to get the house to respond to signals and it doesn't respond, you realize, okay, maybe it was not that smart. We could have known that the summer house was not going to be good for the experiment. So there's a few of these installations that were removed, but still we have 1,000 installations there. Jalal, I, Corey, and some others, we work on market design, how we get demand response to work there. So demand response in terms of signals for people to change their consumption, to adapt to, I don't know, forecast errors, pattern of wind, etc. But also in terms of settlement, how you get people paid for the effort they make to provide demand response. So there's a lot happening there. I'm not going to go into detail, but we've been very busy. So these are, for instance, some of the data being collected on the island. This was, 2-3 years ago, where we looked at what the response was. This is a finite impulse response representation. So imagine that the system is at a steady state at the beginning. So that's why it's at 0. And then at time 0 here, so that's time 0, we increase the price by 1 unit, by 1 kroner. And this is how the demand is going to evolve, depending on the groups that we have. So I erased the name of the groups here, but I can tell you one of the group is IBM with heat pump, one of the group is Siemens with resistive heating, and one of the group is, I think, Siemens with heat pumps, something like that. And you can see, so it's really good to have a data-driven view. If you look at the theory about demand response, how it's going to work, etc., the response that are expected are not really like that. But here we collected the data and we looked at what was going on, really, when you increase the price by 1 unit. And you see some of the groups, you have this deep response within 30 minutes, but then a very, very big rebound. Some other group, you have a tiny, tiny response within 5 minutes, and then it just goes back to the steady state. And another group here also, you have a quite good response within 5 minutes, and then it needs a very long time to go back to steady state. So if you do a bit of optimization, you work on OPF or unit commitment, you realize, okay, maybe this is not an independent basis, but I can work at combining this few type of response to shape the response that you want, right? So this could be quite interesting to go further with that. Okay, one of the topics that's very important in Denmark and hopefully also in your countries, it's how we look at integrated energy systems. I think we are 5 or 6 in the group now to work on this. Christos, you will meet, has been working on gas and electricity. Lesia and Anna have been working on heat and electricity, and Anna will work also with gas. And we have actually a PhD position now available for which we're going to recruit to also work on that all together. All right. Good. And if you have time, if you have time, I think it's going to be my last slide. I don't know, one evening maybe you will have time. You should go to Nordhavn. Nordhavn is a new neighborhood in the city. It's on the northeast of Copenhagen. You have the United Nations building, which is very nice. They will not let you in, which is too bad because it's very nice inside also. There are also a lot of very nice buildings. There's a battery that you will not see also because it's protected. There's an international school. You can enter the international school, but it's not interesting inside. It's very nice, but it's outside that's very interesting. The international school is covered with solar panels, so it can produce a lot of solar energy, this school. And the aim with this school is to make it an actor locally, so a sustainable actor if you want. And some of the things, I'm not going to show the slide, but for instance, some of the things we want to do is to design a peer-to-peer electricity market in the neighborhood so that you source directly your electricity from the school, right, to charge your car, for your house, etc. And we even have this, this battery that can serve as a buffer for that, all right? So if you can go there, please do. I think it's almost on the way. If you stay in the city center and you come here, you're going to take this S train. So with the S train, at some point, you look on the right and you will see this new neighborhood being built. If you have your phone, you put the GPS and you will see when you pass it. All right. So with that, I say I'm going to pass it quickly up. That was my last slide. So I want to say thank you for coming to Denmark. It's really a pleasure to have you here. We hope we're going to be good friends by the end of the week. I hope you will say a big thank you to Jalal and the others who organized, to our lecturers that have come from Michigan, from Los Alamos, from Canada. You know, they are all coming from very far to give you some lectures. So please enjoy it, have a good time. Yeah, and I'll see you around for lunch and other things, right? Thank you. You have some questions?
I might have one.
Really? So I say I have to throw it. Okay. Whoa, that was short. No, I think you just keep it like that.
Hold it straight.
Yeah, don't crush it. He crushed it.
Microphone inside of it?
Yeah, yeah.
It's very good. It's magic.
Yeah, it's very fancy. It's first time also I see it, don't worry.
Bottom up. Could you open the slide of the coupling?
Of the coupling.
Yeah.
Coupling of energy?
Those three things.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the but at the however section?
It's here. So the but is, most of you do optimization. If we start you on a project like that and we say couple the three, you will realize after 6 months to 12 months of very hard work, maybe for you it will be faster, for some it will be slower, but still you will write a complete model with the different networks, with all the interfaces, with all the dynamics, etc. And you will co-optimize everything and you can solve it, all right? And so this is one of the things we did. And then we went to see the people who take care of regulation, markets, and operation, and they say, but you cannot do that. Through regulation, it's not allowed. They have to be separated. So instead of having a complete coupling, you have to find some loose coupling solutions where you get the best out of it, but you respect the fact that there are some rules at the interface. So the heat and electricity, for instance, here in blue you have the electricity, here you have the heat. You have a sequential game. You first clear a heat market, and then you will clear an electricity market. And the heat market does not inform the electricity market. It's those who's been cleared, so the players, they've been cleared for heat, and then they adapt their strategy, and then they go to the electricity market. So when you design the coupling, you have to account for this sequence and the fact it's the players that go in both, not the markets that are together. You see? And then it gets a bit more complicated.
Okay, we are going to talk about that.
Yeah, but you have, I mean, Jalal, Lesia is not
worries.
here.
Yeah.
I think Misha might discuss it also. Some of the DRO, the distributionally robust optimization, we use it also for this kind of coupling.
Not robust
So-
one, but
the coupling.
We don't have to do it robust, no, don't worry. Another question? I think we have time for one last question if you want. It's not mandatory, I mean. No? Good. So see you around. I think we're going to let Miguel. Yeah, Jalal wants some applause.